Now let's finally discuss one of the most simple things to understand, but the most difficult to master: how to calculate the durability of the business model or the durability of the moat. In the words of Warren Buffett, the most important thing is trying to find a business with a wide and long lasting moat around it, protecting a terrific economic castle with an honest lord in charge of the castle. Now, these words are telling a very, very important thing. It basically means that Warren is saying that they're trying to find a business which has a huge moat around it, and it has to be long, it has to be wide, as well as a long lasting. That is, it will last for a long period of time. And it is protecting that moat, is protecting a company which has a terrific cash flows with an honest management in charge of the castle. Warren Buffett says, we are trying to figure out why is that castle still standing and what's going to keep it standing or cause it not to be standing 5, 10, or even 20 years from now. What basically Warren is saying here is they are trying to find how and why the business was doing so good, why the business model has a long lasting moat, and what is the durability of that moat. That is, what are the key factors for that durability of business model and how permanent are they? How much they depend on the genius of the lord in the castle, that is, the management of the company, because sooner or later that management will be changed. So this is what Warren Buffett is saying when it comes to durability of business model. It sounds very encryptic, right? And even sometimes impossible to understand. So let's discuss what is durability. Now, durability of the company depends on a couple of factors. And these are not just an exhausting list. It's a never ending list. And that is why valuation can sometimes be so challenging. You really have to understand the business model of the company and why the moat of the company is standing and will keep on standing. For example, the durability depends upon how well can you keep competition at bay in the future. So think of Google. Now, Google is basically the most dominant player in search engine. There is no competition when it comes to search engine of Google. There is Google and then maybe Bing. But what has happened in the recent times? We have all heard of ChatGPT and the new Bing feature, which ChatGPT will be covered with Bing all, and how the Bing is collaborating with ChatGPT to provide a much better search engine as compared to Google. So, durability will depend upon how you think that ChatGPT and Bing will give competition to Google. Switching cost, whether it's inconvenient or expensive for your existing customers to switch to another's product companies to another company's product or service. So, I am an Apple holder. I have Apple phone. I am recording it on an Apple laptop. I have an Apple AirPods. You understand it. You got the gist. Basically, I'm an Apple user through and through. Does that mean Apple is the best company in the world? Maybe. But one of the things which Apple do very carefully is that they make sure that their customers cannot interact with other ecosystems. It is extremely difficult for an Apple owner to interact with an Android phone. So this is where switching costs come into picture. It can be difficult for the customers to switch to another platforms or other product or service. Another example of durability is the engagement factor. Whether the use of your product or service makes your customers stick more to you. Take the example of Tesla. Now there are other electric cars which are coming in the market, but no one is able to compete with Tesla when it comes to customer experience. Why is that? Because Tesla is not just so much far ahead of its technology. Why is that? Because if you think of it, Tesla is not actually a car company. It in reality is a technology or a software company which happens to make a car. So this changes the interaction, or it changes the entire dynamics which we as car owners experience when we are driving a Tesla. It is a very, very different experience as compared to any other car we have driven or probably will drive in the future. So that is why people are sticking to Tesla more because it is giving them an experience which they have never experienced in their life. This can be another example of the durability of the business model of Tesla. Now, to really understand how this durability is understood in real life, let's take a case study. Let's take a case study of Muthoot Finance, durable mode. We discussed Muthoot Finance in the previous chapters also. So, for refreshing your memory, there's a company in India by the name of Muthoot Finance Limited. Now, you might not have heard of it, but it is the largest loan against gold company, not just in India, in the world. Their business model is something like this. They will take around 100 rupees or $100 worth of your gold jewelry. They will give you around $70 of cash for that gold jewelry and charges you around 24% interest on that $70. And the best part, they do all this within the same time it takes you to order a burger at McDonald's. That is, they are very, very fast. So think about it. They are charging 24% against what? Against the most liquid and secured thing in the world, gold. Now compare that to normal banks who are giving normal loans, not just in India, even in the entire world. They charge what? Depending upon the country and the inflation rate, they are charging interest rates on other loans, that is on the secured loans, that housing loans, the business loans, in the range of 8 to 10%. And this is what Muthoot is doing. It is taking $100 worth of gold and giving only $70. That is, they are already secured by 30%. So, and what are the amount they are charging? They are charging only 24%. So even if, see, the gold prices do fluctuate, but they are practically much more stable as compared to other asset classes. That means that even if the customer defaults, that is, the customer refuses to pay the loan, they are still covered not just with regard to principal, but also interest. And the best part, since the security is so liquid, they are not burdened by those additional liquidation costs which other companies face or other banks face. So why is Muthoot able to do this? Why other banks have not caught on to it yet? Well, Muthoot was able to do that because in India, the gold loan business was looked down upon by big banks. Despite having huge margins and complete secured and liquid nature of the collateral security. So what are the few things you can deduce by looking at the business model of Muthoot? It is a completely secure and a highly cash-rich liquid business. It has extremely high profit margins. In fact, 3 times the normal loan business margins are being charged by Muthoot. Big banks are not paying much attention to building their gold loan business due to no viable reason except high-handedness and an inferiority approach. Muthoot's biggest advantage is its speed in disbursement of loan and focus on niche gold loan market. Muthoot by doing this has become the biggest loan against gold company in the entire world. Think about it. So let's do a thought experiment. Is Muthoot MOAT durable? What I mean by that is the business model of Muthoot will work in the future also. What I'm actually asking is, will Muthoot be able to charge such high interest rates in future also? Understand this. We will need to think what will happen to Muthoot's business in terms of competition. See, sooner or later, these big banks and other players will be attracted to this business because of such high profit margins. See, it's a universal law of capitalism. Whenever you see a market player earning huge market margins, sooner or later competition will come. Up till now, Muthoot was lucky that none of the banks were paying attention to him. So what will happen when the competition will increase? Will Muthoot be able to charge such high interest rates in future? And will its market share will be threatened by big banks who have much more capital and a much more distribution network? The answer to these questions actually affect the future moat of the business. See, both of these things will be affected. Why? Because even though it is a high market share right now, in future, the Muthoot margins and growth will be affected. Its speed and effectiveness will be somewhat offset by increased productivity of its competitor and the much lower interest rates that will be charged by them, almost half of Muthoot. Why? Because Muthoot is charging 14%. Banks do not require such high interest rates. They will undercut Muthoot definitely in competition. And what will happen to Muthoot? It has to reduce its interest rates also. So is Muthoot more durable in the long term future? See, the Muthoot competitive moat will erode to some extent because the biggest disadvantage Muthoot had that it was working in a niche market which was looked down upon by big banks. Now during this period, Muthoot is giving fast loans and it has a huge distribution network. But what has happened after COVID? After COVID, the bank's focus is much more on the secured and liquid lending. And extraordinary net interest margins of Muthoot are under threat from big banks who have got much bigger pockets than Muthoot, and they will now charge lower interest rates. In fact, if you look at the price of Muthoot in the last 2 years, the Muthoot profit and growth rate both have declined. This is what happens when the competition enters into the market.